What's up, Precision Junkies? Kellen back with Inside Out Precision, and in our last video we covered what we call bare shaft tuning, where I'm making sure that both a bare shaft and a flet shaft are impacting in the same place. That means that arrow is coming out straight and it's not wanting to kick one way or the other. And by doing that, we're just micro adjusting, or to achieve that, we're just micro adjusting our rest one way or the other. Another way to do this, and another way to kind of double check if your bare shaft tune is good, is by doing what we call walk back tuning or French tuning. Now, generally speaking, there is a point where, for example, like a 3-yard shot, my sight is at 50. So to do this, I'm gonna sight in my pin at 3 yards perfectly, to where I'm just dead center in the center of the X at 3 yards. Then I'm going to, and you kind of got to experiment with where you hit right on. Usually it's going to be about 45 or 50 yards for most people, where the same pin will hit at 3 yards and 50 yards. So then I'm going to put a target out at 50. And what I'm looking for, ideally, is that at 3 yards, my arrow is right in the center. At 50 yards, my arrow is right in the center. Now, if it's not, let me find my arrows here. Now, if I shoot at 50, or excuse me, at 3 yards, and my arrow is just dead center in the X, and then I walk back, or I don't walk back, but I shoot the target that's at 50 yards, even though my height may be perfect, if my arrow is 5 or 6 inches to the left, that shows me that as my arrow is flying, it's being pushed to the left. So it's tracking to the left the further out it goes. So to correct that, I'm actually going to bring my rest, and again, this is just a micro adjust. This is going to be maybe a 32nd or a 16th of an inch at a time. I'm going to actually bring my rest towards the dot. So if I'm hitting left, I'm going to move my rest right, just ever so slightly. Now, once I do that, I'm going to go back to 3 yards, and I'm going to re-sight in until I hit right in the middle, and then I'm going to go shoot the 50 yard again, and hopefully I will be right in line. Now, once I get my arrow hitting at 3 yards and at 50 yards in the same horizontal line, or I guess actually more along the same vertical line, you know, it's going to be the same height, but we want to make sure that they're hitting on the same y-axis here. So they should all be, you know, right perfectly down along that, just like boom, you know, not one over here and one over here. So you can kind of play around with your rests until you get that. And generally, this is where a blade rest or any sort of micro adjustable limb-driven fall away is really, really nice, because you actually have enough support there to influence the arrow with just a 1/16 of an inch movement in the rest. So it's another good way to check. I don't have a 50-yard target here. I would have actually showed you, and the weather is not so hot outside, plus it's like 7 o'clock at night, so I couldn't see anyway. But I prefer bare shaft tuning, but doing this walk back method of tuning, they call it walk back because generally you start at 3 yards and walk back to 50, but if possible, I like to just set up a target at 3 yards and set up a target at 50 yards and just stand in one spot. I think it's a really good way to check. They also call it group tuning, which is, you know, basically I'm making sure that when I shoot a group at 10 yards, it's in the middle, and when I shoot a group at 50 yards, it's in the middle. So just remember that if at distance you're to the left, you're going to micro adjust your rest to the right. If at distance you're right, you're going to micro adjust your rest to the left. So you can kind of play around with that a little bit, get real tight groups, and again, what that's making sure of is that when that arrow comes out of the bow, it's not kicking one way or the other as it travels. It's just coming out, and the shaft is not inducing any unnecessary drag on these on one side heavier than on the other side, because that's what causes it to keep drifting that way. So I hope that helps you a little bit. I had a few questions about that. Again, if you have any questions, feel free to hit us up on Instagram at inside_out_precision, or comment on YouTube. I tend to see the Instagram DMs faster than I do the YouTube. I don't know why, they just come through faster. So if you got a really pressing question, you know, hit me up on Instagram. Otherwise, I'll see you on YouTube and answer as many questions as I can there. So until next time, remember, keep it in the middle, and precision is a decision.